Well, welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. It's time now to review headlines of today's newspapers with the ombudsman of This Day and Arise Media Group and This Day Newspaper Limited's Group Executive Director, Mr. Kaide Komolafe, or as we love to call you on this show, KK.
KK.
Good morning, Adisa.
Good morning.
Good morning, Steve.
Good morning, KK.
I'm pleased to be here. Yeah.
All right, let's go into the newspaper review. Today, we'll start, as always, with This Day on Sunday. But I think that we should take it from top to the bottom. The window story says Katsina embraces self-defense strategy against bandits, promises to support communities to defend themselves. Says ransom payment doesn't guarantee safety of victims. KK, 2 weeks ago, we're back to
ransom debate.
That ransom debate. I think I listened to Shaitan and this one last Sunday too, I mentioned something around that. But Katsina is looking for ways to protect its citizens and, talking of promises of support to communities to be able to defend themselves. That story is on page 5 of today's This Day. And under that story, also on page 5, citing medical issues, presidential spokesperson Ngelale proceeds on indefinite leave. This is one major story that has been everywhere since yesterday morning when the gentleman announced that he will be leaving the government of Ashwaji Bola.
Indefinite leave. And then the presidency wished him well on his future endeavors. So
it's been reported, and then, the presidency, who signed for the presidency. The letter that he wrote was to the chief of staff, and then there was a response from the presidency that has no name or title or anything like that. But KK, at some point we would like your thoughts about it. Some people think that, could this be about what our own Dr. Ruben Abati, who was once in that position, once spoke about the about the demons, within the Aso Rock? Or is it about the gali of the gentleman in question, as some people may be a bit too harsh on him, we want to say. But Ajuri Ngelale is no longer as obvious, the presidential spokesperson. We will see what happened, given the fact that there are 2 special advisors until he left, speaking for the president. Under the masthead, NHRC, 467 Nigerians killed in Benue, 3 others in 2 months. 1,200 protesters arrested. That story is on page 12 of today's newspaper. And then the 2 big ones, NMPC, Dangote Refinery, free to sell products directly to marketers on willing seller, willing buyer basis. Insists there is currently no guarantee of lower prices with local refinery. I mean, a lot of people have sent me messages about how passionate Dr. Muda Yusuf was, on today's morning show, just right now, and, what his thoughts were on this Dangote thing, this willing seller, willing buyer thing. Ultimately, maybe from September 15th, which NMPC says, Nigerians will begin to see the product. We'll now know how much is this willing seller, willing buyer business will be. The main story itself, the lead, Nigeria dumps Taiwan. Taiwan for one China policy. China to pressure Russia over West Africa. Tinubu, Xi Jinping reaffirmed their country's support for each other's sovereignty, territorial integrity. A lot of news have been coming from China, particularly with the president there. I doubt if Ajuri Ngelale was with the president, or was the resignation from China. It didn't appear as if he went to China with him. By the way, he asked that he's dealing with some, vexatious medical issues, and that people should show understanding by being careful about how they discuss. And I think that the president also said that please respect his wishes, but of course we do wish him well. A number of people have been on that seat, from Mrs. Remu, since 1999. Even before him, I think
Uncle Tuji
Oseni was there.
Dr. Okupe.
Dr. Tuji. Well, I mean, Dr. Okupe was SSA, I believe. But in terms of the substantive, Uncle Tuji Oseni, Mrs. Remi, Oyo, our own Shegun, Adeni, Dr. Ruben Abati, Mr. Femi Adeshino, former president of the Guild of Editors, and now Ngelale, Mr. Bayo Nonuga. We'll see how it goes. Keke, this things for you to unpack from today's cover of This Day.
Yeah. Maybe we should take a look at the front page photo.
Oh, I missed that. You're very correct. Yes.
It is quite...
yes, respect for former
very instructive,
boss's mother. Yeah, that's the Deputy Governor of Katsina State, Honorable Farouk Lawa, Governor Diko Maroda, and former President Goodluck Jonathan, when the former president arrived in Katsina to offer condolences to the Yaradua family following the passing of the mother of the late President Musa Yaradua, Ajia Dada Yaradua, in the state yesterday. That's a good one.
I think that is in good spirit.
Yes,
yes. Quite kind and thoughtful.
Absolutely.
On the part of former President.
Correct, sir.
Good luck, Jonathan. He was vice president, when...
to Yaradua.
To President Yaradua.
That was thoughtful,
yes,
of him.
Quite thoughtful of him to have paid a condolence visit to the family of his former boss. Now, perhaps we should start with the lead story of this day on Sunday.
Yes.
And that is the story of that Nigeria does
policy.
For One China policy. But I think the context should be understood. Nigeria has never recognized Taiwan. As we know. Of course, even the United Nations, has not recognized Taiwan. Only a few countries, about 12 of them, mainly some of these islands, that recognize China, because the principle of One China policy is such that if you cannot recognize Taiwan and at the same time have diplomatic relations with China, because China has insisted, and I dare say legitimately so, that Taiwan is part of history, that Taiwan is a province, of China. But then it has been one of the greatest diplomatic conundrums that I've had, for decades, globally. So that context should be understood. So it's not as if Nigeria is dumping Taiwan, because already Taiwan has a trade office, in Lagos, and that is why you have the business between the Nigerian business community and Taiwan, flourishing. But that does not amount to a diplomatic recognition of Taiwan as the Republic ROC, the Republic of China, as Taiwan, likes to be described. And since 2007, and I think at the request of China,
yes,
because the principle is that China insists that if you're having the trade office, which, by the way, has jurisdiction over almost 30 African countries, that the trade office in Nigeria, that to assure, the lower status that is given, to that particular trade office, it should not be located at the capital.
Yeah.
There was a time it was moved to Abuja, but now it's now been located to Lagos. I think that is quite important. But then, just like it's been widely acknowledged, I think the apart from that aspect of One China policy and Taiwan, there are other achievements, that we could count on, about the visit, of President Tinubu to China, apart from attending the China-African summit, but on the issues of bilateral relations between China and Nigeria, a lot of agreements, were issued, notably, the currency swap, which has been on the table, for quite some time, and that if that is put into effect, it will also have a positive effect, on the, forex pressure. I mean, to lessen the forex pressure,
Yeah.
And apart from that, the various other infrastructural, issues,
Yes.
that on which agreements are based upon.
Yes.
Just like experts like Dr. Yusuf was saying, you know,
yes.
in the earlier segment of the show,
Yeah.
if there is proper follow-up, and also Nigeria also is able to develop its own strategic plan.
That's right.
Of dealing with China, because you can see that, you know, China is very strategic the way is dealing with Africa, you know, that we could take a page, you know, out of the playbook of China to also have a strategic purpose in the way we deal with
I think
China.
Lagos also signed something, you know, the Green Line, isn't it?
The Green Line, yeah.
With China, which
Yeah,
would be a brilliant idea, you know, at some point.
I think so too. Yes. Yeah. Then the other issue, you know, I mean the other story, which I think we should have, like you said, is the other big story on the front page, which is the Dangote refinery. And by the way, it's also on the front pages of other newspapers, I think Punch, I think Tribune, you know, and others. You know, I think the context, you know, should be put here. You know, I think even the question of NNPC making a statement on it, I think there is a lot of, I mean, there should be a sort of clarification. I think the body that should actually be talking now should be the regulator. Don't forget, you know, when people talk of NNPC, they forget to add in the abbreviation, they forget the L. It's actually a limited liability company.
Yes.
And if Dangote is a big player in the downstream sector, NNPC, the owner, I mean, that is controlling about 4 refineries, is actually a competitor in a way to Dangote. To be. So the question of you know, seeking, I mean, because the tone of the story is as if you need a sort of approval or authority from NNPC. NNPC is also a player, you know, even though it's, I mean, publicly owned, you know, in the sector. It should, I mean, rather it should be the regulator, you know, that we should be asking for. If there are regulatory issues, you know, that needs to be cleared, you know, and the rest are not NNPC, you know. The second point, you know, about the pricing is that, and this is just to amplify, you know, the very brilliant, beautiful point made by Dr. Yusuf in the earlier segment, that in this matter we should know that we're talking of energy security of a country. You know, there is no country in the world, from America to China, regardless of what we call the social system, that you can say that the matter of energy security is what you just throw to the market place, you know, because of the centrality, you know, of energy, you know, into economic, I mean, activities, you know. I think that point, you know, ought to be noted. So when we are talking, you know, of the pricing, you know, of what I mean, what it would be, you know. So and that is why, for instance, in the last presidential election, the question of energy price was part of the campaign. Kamala Harris, you know, if you look at his campaign, he's saying that she will make sure that Americans do not pay more, you know, for fuel, you know. So that, I mean, there is no in the UK, the energy price is always at the center. So I'm saying that, you know, I mean, there should be no illusion, you know, on the part of anybody to think that, you know, you could say that the state has no role, you know, to play, you know, when it comes to the question of energy security, you know. Now, the strategy, you know, of dealing with it in such a way that it will be efficient, and also it will meet, you know, the purpose of socio-economic well-being, you know, of the country is what you should look at, and not, you know, this mechanical approach of just thinking that, oh, now it's, I mean, blindly talking about market forces, you know. It doesn't happen anywhere.
Absolutely. Do you want to touch one or two other stories? I mean, jury stories in all the papers, by the way. Well, it's of media interest.
A jury story, I would resist the incitement from Steve.
You're trying to.
It's of media interest.
Yes. I refuse the incitement. I resist it, rather. I resist it. I think in the circumstance, a jury has requested that in his privacy should be respected, and the response from the presidency, you know, also says from the presidency, yes. I mean, there is something called the presidency. There is something called the presidency in the governance structure of this country. Now, I will just go with what the presidency has said, and that is to say that our loving thoughts and prayers should be with Mr. Chief Ajuri Ngelale at this hour, especially that he has cited, you know, medical, you know, family reasons, you know, for taking the steps. So
So that's a fair one. It says if time and chance permits, at some point in the future, he would like to come back into national service. I think that is also important, isn't it?
And he said his action is indefinite. Don't forget that. He says it's indefinite.
Let's quickly take this day style, and good luck to Ajuri in his future endeavors, and also prayers for the medical, situation. But let's move on quickly to take this day style. In the front of this day style, the 60 years metamorphosis of Mo Abudu, the cover there of the beautiful, successful Mo Abudu, a titan of industry. It says to know Mo Abudu is to know a woman who exemplifies the term go-getter, and that's why it's no surprise that she has been hailed by Forbes as one of Africa's most successful women. Over the years, she has carved out her legacy as one of the most influential figures in media and entertainment, not just in Africa, but also globally. It's celebrating her 60th birthday, and she talks about the dreams that she had as a young girl, and she could not have imagined her career's path, but she has gained so much success in media, in storytelling, in changing the landscape, in showing what a powerful woman in media, looks like. And I think it's very important that she has done it not only in Nigeria, but she's also exported, our work, our stories and our images. In Harvard, where she was, she's done it internationally. And it's actually amazing to see her being celebrated in this way.
Absolutely, KK. I mean,
happy birthday to Mo Abudu.
Yes, and also another birthday there is Mrs. Toyin Saraki,
happy birthday to Her Excellency.
I think Mrs. Saraki had a Frenchy birthday party with a Davido vibe, isn't it?
Yes, I think so.
Okay, you think so? Happy birthday to Mo Abudu. I believe she had...
Happy birthday to Her Excellency Toyin.
Yes, Saraki. She had a 20-year in the media thing, I believe last week or thereabout, which will be like a prelude to the big party that is coming next Saturday. The theme, by the way, is old school with swag. And I'm sure that people that will be at that party will have things to report.
Old school with swag.
All right, we have a few more minutes. Let's look at Sunday Telegraph and the Sunday Tribune. Here in the Telegraph, why APC should be voted out in 2027 by Lukman. Says party failed in economy, security, corruption. And then I think the story of CBN selling Forex to BDCs at 1,580 to $1. Most people are getting it at 1,600 plus. Basically reminds us of the fact that we are still struggling as far as this FX thing is concerned. And CBN will have to do a lot more, frankly speaking, in this area. And the Sunday Tribune lead story, shake-up in Tinubu's cabinet imminent, non-performing ministers to go list of their replacements already ready. Exclusive one from Tribune. We've been hearing that for how many weeks? Have we been hearing that for how many weeks? Yes, honestly, I mean... The Nation briefly. The producer was asking if we had Punch, but the Nation is also about Dangote. Dangote free to fix petrol price, but no guarantee it will be cheaper. NNPC. And then on page 2, there's a story on the window. Commuters stranded as petrol tanker explodes in Ibadan. KK, let's wrap up with all these a few issues. Tribune, Nation, Telegraph.
Yeah, except that I forgot to mention that the Nation also had the story on the Dangote thing. So in a way, you could say, understandably, that the Dangote refinery is because the story of the week, and that again brings into focus the centrality of the energy security, in socio-economic discussion, and that is why it should be taken seriously because of the implications, because the tension that it's already building up, and should not go beyond this before we have a relief, So the hope, is that the commencement of operations by the Dangote refinery should actually be a lot of relief, to the
Absolutely.
economy.
And
Thank
you were
you
right,
very much,
KK,
KK.
about the Ajuri story, because the nation, put it in perspective, and the nation should know, given the nation's closeness to the seat of power. Presidency accepts Tinubu's spokesperson Ngelale's resignation, keyword being resignation, and then says his privacy should be respected, which was what you also emphasized. We wish him well. He has done his bit.
Thank you very much.
Let him proceed with life. All right, that brings us to the end of the morning show today. Thank you for watching, and thank you, KK, too. You stay safe. I'm Steve Ayorinde.
Well, I'm Ade Swaggy Osagi, and from our entire team here in Lagos, Nigeria, enjoy the rest of your morning and, of course, the rest of your day. Goodbye.